Hi guys, for my final project, I decided I'm going to be covering Antoinette Nwandu's Passover.
But before we dive too deeply into the play, I wanted to give a little bit of history on Antoinette Nwandu. Born in New York City and educated at Harvard, she didn't start her journey in theater. She studied law and bioethics, fields that reflect her fascination with systems that shape our lives. Nwandu didn't want to just analyze systems, though. She wanted to dismantle them. In an interview with The Interval, Nwandu explained her mission saying, "I want my work to say, I see you, I honor you, I believe you." With Passover, she does exactly that. She takes two young black men, puts them on a street corner, and says, "These lives matter, their stories matter."
She also sees her role as a playwright as a part of a larger responsibility. In her words, "I want to use my art to make space for healing and truth-telling in a way that is joyful and brave. This is theater as a form of witnessing and resistance."
Passover is a reimagining of Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot, a classic of absurdist theater. In Beckett's play, two men wait endlessly for Godot, a figure who never comes. The waiting becomes a metaphor for the human condition, a search for meaning in a world that offers none. But Nwandu flips the scripts in her play. Moses and Kitch are waiting for something very real: freedom, opportunity, a way out. Nwandu takes Bucket's existential question, "What are we waiting for?" and roots it in the lived reality of systemic racism.
She once said, "I took Godot and asked, what happens if you put two black men in this existential void? What happens when waiting becomes a survival tactic, not just a metaphor?" By reframing Waiting for Godot, she turns a philosophical question into an urgent demand for change.
Passover is a part of a long tradition of black theater that challenges the status quo and amplifies the voices of the oppressed. Lorraine Hansberry, A Raisin in the Sun, broke barriers as the first play by a black woman on Broadway. It portrayed the struggles of a black family trying to claim their space in a segregated society. Hansberry famously said, "The things that make you exceptional, if you are at all, is inevitably that which must also make you lonely." August Wilson's Fences went further, chronicling the joys and hardships of black life over generations. Wilson believed all you need in the world is love and laughter. That's all anybody needs. To have love in one hand and laughter in the other.
Nwandu builds on this foundation. While Hansberry wrote about families and Wilson chronicled communities, Nwandu narrows her focus to two young men and a single block. In their conversation, we hear echoes of all those who came before. Moses and Kitch represent a legacy of resistance and the ongoing fight for justice.
At its heart, Passover is a story about waiting, but also about what happens while we wait. The play explores three major themes: systemic oppression, resilience and brotherhood, and how absurdism meets realism. We'll start with how it addresses systemic oppression. The street corner becomes a symbol for the barriers that keep Moses and Kitch trapped. They dream of a promised land, but systemic racism ensures it's always out of reach. In one heartbreaking line, Kitch says, "Why can't I just live? Why do I have to die every day?" Now we'll talk about how it talks about resilience and brotherhood. Despite their circumstances, Moses and Kitch find joy in their friendship. Their banter is sharp, funny, and full of life, showing the power of human connection in the face of despair. Nwandu highlights this when she says, "Black joy is an act of defiance," which I just love that line so much. Nwandu's mix of absurdist repetition and brutal realism mirrors the irrationality of systemic racism. The officer isn't just a character, he's a representation of every force that keeps marginalized communities oppressed. As Moses says, "What you think it's going to feel like when we finally get up off this block?" That question lingers long after the play ends. I, of course, have to mention the biblical themes that show up here as well. As the name of the play insists, Passover, there obviously is going to be more biblical themes, as well as Moses being a named character, but biblical imagery is woven deeply into Passover, echoing the story of Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt. In the Bible, Moses confronts Pharaoh, demanding freedom for his people, saying, "Let my people go." Similarly, in this play, Moses is the leader, the dreamer, and the one who dares to imagine an escape from the systemic oppression that binds him in Kitch.
The promised land they speak of isn't just a metaphor for heaven. It's a place of real freedom, where black men and women can live without fear of violence or oppression. As Kitch says at one point, "I want to go to that place with good food, soft beds, where I can finally rest." His longing mirroring the Israelites' hope for a land overflowing with milk and honey, which Kitch says utters to himself milk and honey at one point in the play as well.
Passover isn't just a play, it's a challenge. It asks us to confront uncomfortable truths about race, power, and justice. It demands that we stop waiting for someone else to fix these problems and start imagining a world where liberation is real.
As Nwandu said, to imagine freedom is the first step to creating it. So what will you do? How will you help turn waiting into action? The promised land isn't somewhere we go. It's something that we create. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in for this video. I am so thankful that you took the time to watch it, and I hope you have an amazing day. Passover is on Amazon Prime if that is something that you would be interested in. It is included with a Prime membership, and it is the stage production. I highly recommend it. It was an excellent watch, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye-bye.